Every workshop that I do, every teaching that I do, every class, all of that sort of stuff, I love to start it the same way. The medicine woman who trained me would always start every lesson with me with, this is how I learned. If you know another way, share it with me so we can learn from each other. And the reason I say that is you'll see this very first page is full of terms. And these terms are the way that I can make the idea, the concept that I'm trying to get across make sense. You might look at these and say, well, this it makes more sense if I flip these words, or I would call this something else, or that's not the way that I would view that. Great. Do you. Do you is always the answer. Unless you realize that doing you isn't working at all, then do you differently. But I mean that. I think that one of the things we just had, one of our renters was in here. She did my shamanic training a couple years back, I guess, and we were talking about how everybody there had done their own version of it by the end. I taught them all the basics, and by the end of it, they were all doing a totally different expression, which was the coolest thing ever, because we don't really want a bunch of cookie cutter Shanes running around. Trust me on that. No good comes of that. You can see the people that know me the most are like, I want you all to feel comfortable speaking up. I want you to feel comfortable asking questions. I want you to feel comfortable interrupting me. We're not in grade school. We don't have to do this. The other thing that I always tell everybody is right through that door slightly to the left across the hallway is the bathroom. If you need anything else, that's Jan. If you've never met her, Jan handles everything around here. She knows where everything is. If you need anything, if your pen stops working, anything like that, just grab hold of her and she'll help you with what's going on. And even though we were joking about a second ago, don't get hung up on formal. In case you haven't figured out, I'm not a very formal person. And so ask questions, challenge things, say that doesn't make any sense to you. I think a lot of times the exchange and the conversation, the dialogue, you get a lot more out of than just the flat lecture with things. And while I think that we need to embrace manners and politeness and all of that sort of stuff, I wish we would all do that more in life. I think one of the kindest things you can ever do to somebody you care about is look at them and go, I don't understand what you mean. That's not saying that they're poor in explaining it. It's saying that you're not getting it and you want to get it. You want to understand it. So please bring it to me a different way. So this workshop used to be called the manifestation workshop because that was the buzzword at the time. Everybody was wanting to manifest this and manifest that. This one is called energy, frequency, and vibration, the keys to manifesting the life you want. Ultimately, I think it should boil down to living in awareness. I think if we want to talk about vibrations and frequencies and what we create in life and all of that, it is all born out of a state of awareness. And I always like starting off a workshop with a blanket insult, so this will be a great way to begin. Most of us have no clue how we're even operating. Most people, when we talk about awareness, they're like, oh yeah, I'm totally aware, and then you watch them for 5 minutes and they walk into a wall. And we've got to get to the point where we're actually living in awareness and embracing the idea of course correction. And one of the things that we have to get in working with all of this stuff, I talk about it in my yoga classes all the time, be prepared to course correct. Think about the original GPS systems in your car, your phone. It would say turn right and you turn left and go course correction, and it would tell you how to get there anyway. And so we want to embrace that idea that if what we're doing isn't getting us where we want to be, then we need to embrace doing something different. As usual, I've gotten ahead of myself. You will notice that there are 2 business cards that are sitting there for everybody. Those are not for you because you're already here. You know where the place is. Those are for you to give somebody else that doesn't know the cool stuff that happens here. So those are for you to take and distribute as you will. And I suggest you make a sport out of it. Find your friend that isn't into this stuff at all and hand them a business card from a shaman and say, you need this. If nothing else, it'll open up an interesting conversation. It's a great icebreaker. It's when I met my husband 23 years ago, I knew it was him the minute that I met him. Every psychic I ever talked to had talked about him. When I met him, I handed him a business card. I said, this is going to help make a lot of sense of things. A lot about me you're not going to understand. This business card is a great start. I don't know how we ever had a second date. He thought I was crazy from the beginning. In our terms, understanding the terms of things, energy. That's where we want to jump right in. Energy is the creational force of the universe. It's a part of everything. Everything is a part of it. If you're an old school geek like me, and today's going to be very geeky, I should warn you ahead of time. If you go back to the original Star Wars where Yoda's talking about the Force, that to me really is God. That really is the creational aspect of everything. If you believe differently, don't want you to change your beliefs. I don't think that God is a person. I don't think God thinks like we do. I think we've created God in our image instead of the other way around like religion tries to tell us. I think that we have created a personified character that we call God. And for me, that's not how it works. My version of God is the creational force of the universe. It is the fabric of everything. I'm what's called an omnist or a pantheist. An omnist believes that every religion has part of the truth, but none of them have the whole truth. And a pantheist believes that everything in creation is God. The sum total of all things that exist is God. That's how I believe. I actually think that everything exists, and everything that you can't even conceive that exists. Because when we talk about everything that exists, we put it in the little bucket of our understanding and our knowledge. Well, if I don't know about it, it doesn't count, it doesn't exist. Yeah, it does. And the fact that we only fish out of that little bitty bucket is the reason that most of us can't manifest the life we want. Because what we want lies outside of that definition that we've had. So this is going to help us figure out how to break outside of those definitions, get to where we can broaden our perspective, get to where we're living in a quantum state of being where all things are possible. The things you can conceive of, and even the things you can't conceive of. That's where the stuff gets really fun, actually. So energy is the very essence of reality, and we could kind of think of it in the most basic terms. I mean, the word energy covers it. It's the fuel. It's the thing that drives everything. The reason that your car moves from one place to the other is because of internal combustion of fuel, the consumption of energy. That energy is converted into an energy of the tires on the road, and it propels us down the road, all this sort of stuff. And so when we talk about energy, we need to get to where we have that base understanding of what we're actually saying in that moment, what that actually means to us. And I believe that for each individual, this is where you got to start separating out from my way of viewing things, possibly. Where do you think that energy comes from? Now, in a very religious, or let's narrow it down even farther, in a Christianized way, I'm not saying that anti-Christian, but to put it in a specific zone, they would believe that energy comes from that God figure, Yahweh, Adonai, whatever you want to call him. That would be there. If you go to the Native Americans, they would say that that energy comes from Great Mystery, Great Spirit. If you go to the Hindus, they would say that that energy comes from Krishna or Shiva or any of the literally millions of gods that they have. A naturalist is going to say that physics and the law of nature is that energy. I think it really helps inside of ourselves to think that we have an understanding of where that energy comes from. And ultimately, we want to think about how do we get that energy to come through us. Had a conversation just before you guys got here with one of my renters, and it's probably because all of this is on my mind. I was talking about manifesting money, and this is getting way ahead of things, but this simplifies things so much, or is a unique perspective to look at least. I hear everybody saying that they want to draw money to them. Why? What good does it do? Have you ever seen a dollar bill laying there do something? It doesn't do a damn thing. It doesn't do anything until you spend it. And so you don't want the money to come to you, you want the money to come through you. If you're trying to buy a new car, you're not trying to manifest money for yourself, you're trying to manifest money for a car dealer. If you're trying to buy dinner, if that money stops at you, no cheeseburger for you, not until you pay the guy that has the cheeseburger. And so you're wanting the money to come through you to where you want. If it's coming through you, then you have to decide where's it coming from. If it's coming through you, you're not the point of origin. I love this. Deepak Chopra, we all know Deepak. I say that like we all hang out with him every Tuesday. You know Deepak. He had $1 million book deal that he was working on, and his assistant looks at him and says, well, where's the money going to come from for that? Best answer ever. Wherever it is right now. That money's going to come from wherever it is right now. If I want to manifest a new Jeep, where's that Jeep going to come from? Wherever it is right now. And so when we talk about manifesting, it's not so much that we're creating something out of thin air and making something that didn't exist before. We're trying to tune into that thing so it becomes part of our firsthand experience. And so when I'm trying to create more love in my life, well, love exists. I didn't invent it. I didn't come up with the idea of love. I mean, I'd love it if I did. We wouldn't be sitting here. But love can come through me. It can be an expression of me. It can be something that happens in that regard. Any of you do energy work or healing, Reiki, that sort of stuff? Familiar with it at least? Understand the basic concept? I tell everybody in their Reiki training that if you want to understand energetic healing, which is really just trying to manifest healing instead of illness, it's just a form of manifestation, then imagine that God, universe, light, the force, whatever you call that thing, is the sun, and you're the magnifying glass. All you're trying to do is figure out how to position yourself so that you can direct, focus, and intensify that light into a singular beam that goes where you want it to be, and we're placing an energetic signature on it of what we want it to do. And so in that instance, the sun would be God or Reiki or the universe or whatever language it is we want to use here. And the energy would be that beam of light. We would be the magnifying glass, and the person receiving our Reiki energy that we're directing to them would be the target of what it is that we're trying to manifest. That's the place where we want that manifestation to occur. That's the place where we want that thing to materialize in that regard. And so it's about channeling the things through you in that regard, which very conveniently brings us to our second word, which is channels. They're the pathways that the energy runs through. Think of each of them as a different expression of an unlimited universe. Literally a channel for everything you can think of and all the things you can't imagine. So if a person, and I happen to believe, and this is probably an oversimplification, but for the sake of conversation, I love simple, especially when you're talking about crazy concepts. If you're singing, you're tuned into the channel of singing. If you're digging a ditch, you're channeling the energy of digging a ditch. If you're having a conversation, conversational channel is open. If we want to, we can get it down to where every single thing we do, experience, and express is considered a channel. When I'm usually in this little exact spot where I'm sitting, I'm usually sitting on the floor or standing on a yoga mat, and I am channeling my teacher energy and channeling the knowledge of yoga. A lot of people say that knowledge isn't coming from outside of you. You went to school, you studied it, all of that. Well, it's buried up in here somewhere. I got to get it to come out. So I got to open that channel to my knowledge, to my subconscious, to my memory, to that other part of me, knowing that all of those things are a part of the universe, God, spirit, whatever. They are an energetic component that exists within me. I exist within that totality. I am God. God is me. We are one. Therefore, even if I'm accessing something I've studied and learned and practiced and rehearsed, I am opening that inner channel to it with the understanding that I didn't invent yoga. I didn't invent teaching. I am channeling through those qualities of what is there. Right now, I'm channeling teacher energy. I'm trying to teach you guys what I understand about this. You are channeling learner energy because you're sitting there trying to learn the stuff that I'm bringing through. And we're all channeling through our unique perspective on it because every single one of you will walk out of here with something different than the other people in this room. You'll each get something different out of it. That's how it's supposed to work, right? If everybody walked out of here with just one thing, I'd only have to write one thing on the piece of paper. I hand you the piece of paper when you come in, say, you're done, thanks for the money, get out. And that wouldn't be much of a workshop. So we want to think about all of us accessing our unique and independent thing. When I was talking about the setup, and I'm not good at all of that, I wrote this out. It took me about, I don't know, 45 minutes to write the whole thing out. I'm good at relaying information. I am not good at recording things. I am not good at some of you have the next day replay thing. That wouldn't happen if it was up to me. That's what Jan channels. That's what she brings through. That's her skill set. That's her energy. That's what she's bringing into all of it. And so we're bringing those two different channels and expressions and ways of being together for the sake of completing the task at hand. And so we want to make sure that we understand whether it's something we think comes from beyond or something we think that comes from within us, that every single thing we do is opening up a channel. If you ever talk to, and I'm going to talk very scientific, but I want you to understand, I think this is an art form. I say it's an art form because it's very expressive. If you ever talk to a great painter, or a great singer, or a great dancer, or some incredible author, if you ever get to sit down and talk to somebody that literally creates these expressive works, they'll tell you the good part comes when it's coming through them instead of from them. Well, yeah. The Mona Lisa, that wasn't inside of him. That came through him onto that canvas. When that person is dancing this beautiful ballet and you see all of these wonderful fluid movements, of course they practice. Of course they have taken the learning from somebody who is channeling teaching to them, coming through that teacher to them, and they took that knowledge, put it inside of their own self, practice, practice, practice. They refined their mechanism to be able to express that. And in that moment, they will tell you, any great performer will tell you, you practice, 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 and the day of performance, you let it all go and just let it come through you and just let it be. And that's where the amazing expression comes out of everything. That's what we're trying to do with our life. And I love the side note of that. Wouldn't we all like to consider our life a work of art? Wouldn't we all like to think of our life as a beautiful expression? I want to think about every single thing that I do being a thread in the tapestry that makes up this beautiful mosaic that is my life. Because in that moment, I am the artist of my experience within this world. Why would we not view ourselves that way? Why would we reduce ourselves down to people who are struggling through life? What a shit way to say that. I am an artist who is creating beauty and expression everywhere I go. I am making the world different than it was before I was there. I have a big saying that I've used forever. It is far better that you happen to life than just let life happen to you. You all know the story of the carrot, the egg, and the coffee bean? So if you take a carrot that's hard and crunchy, and you put it in the boiling waters of life, it gets soft and mushy. Some people do too. If you take an egg, it's hard on the outside. If you put it in the boiling water, it gets hard on the inside too. Some people do as well. I'm a coffee bean. You put me in that hot water, I change the damn water. We all want to be coffee beans. This is an exercise in becoming a beautiful artistic coffee bean. I bet you weren't expecting that in this workshop. Our channel, an interchangeable word, I see them as different. I have in my notes are a little different than yours. It says some people will change these words around. If you see the word frequency, frequency is the particular channel that you are tuned into. It is the intention/expectation that is placed to dial in a particular channel. So if we can believe that all of the channels exist, prosperity and health and abundance and wealth and intellect and arts and whatever it is that we personally want, all of those channels exist. All of those things are out there. All of those are real. Frequency is us dialing into that particular channel to be able to bring it through our particular self and express it out into the world. And so if you get into tech stuff at all, frequency has to do with the frequency at which something oscillates, at which something vibrates, at which something expresses itself, which is ultimately what we're trying to do here. The next word on our page is vibration, which is the transmission radiating from you into the universe and will be reflected back to you as your experiences and the circumstances of your life. We're just defining terms so far. Now, in the frequency one, and I got ahead of myself because I love this part. You guys, if you do mini workshops with me, everybody nod your head that you're going to be doing mini workshops with me. See how I'm manifesting that reality right now? When you do that, you're going to hear some things repeated over and over and over and over again, no matter what the topic is, because these are the things that are my absolutes. I hate the word intentions. I absolutely cannot stand that word. It drives me crazy. Is it not the biggest buzzword in spirituality? Before yoga class, set your intention. Well, my intention's to do some damn yoga. Why do you think I'm here? When we talk, I know, right? When we talk about intentions, I don't think they do anything. If I intend to walk out of this room, what has happened? Nothing. If I get up and walk out of this room, it's going to happen. So I have a different word that I like to use. I like the word expectation. I love the word expectation. I can give you a real shortcut to understanding. And Constantine, I think you're the only one who's going to be the exception to what I'm saying. Well, Frank, you too. Guys, we're going to have a meeting afterwards about this. How many of you are mothers? There is a big difference between a woman who intends to have a child and a woman who's expecting a baby. When you're expecting it, you know it's already real. You know it's only a matter of time before it presents itself in your world. And intention is a concept, it's a thought, it's just this thing that's floating out there not doing anything. An expectation creates that feeling that something is there. Getting into an expectant energy, this is one of my favorite things to teach people because it's this big and it'll change your entire life. I'm going to tell you the secret to expectant energy right now. I see you all looking at me, expecting me to say something else. That's the vibe. That's the energy. You knew there was something else coming. You knew I was supposed to be saying something after that statement. There was no expectation of a pause. You were expecting something to come through there. And even though I left a pause there, I got another hour and 40 minutes that we're supposed to be filling here, so I had to kick something in so your expectation was fulfilled. You had an expectation I was going to say something else. And so if we can treat whatever it is that we're trying to manifest in our life, whatever state of being, whatever object, whatever circumstance that we want, if we can get to the point where we expect it, like that woman's expecting a child, then the universe gets a very clear message about what we have going on here. If we intend it, like how many times, this is why it's a pet peeve, how many times has somebody looked at you and said, well, I know I failed you, but I intended to do whatever? How many times have you done that to somebody else? Well, I intended to make it over. Well, I intended not to run over you with my car. I intended to just scare you a little bit, but I'm sorry I shot you dead. Intentions are just a concept. Expectation, well, I expected when I pulled the trigger the bullet would come out. That's an expectation. You know, when I hit you with the car, I expected you probably wouldn't get back up. That's an entirely different thing. I hope we can use them for better things than guns and cars running over people, but you know, that's up to you. Whatever you do with this information, not my business. Oh, Anna, you know me. Would you think it was going to be pretty language today? So we want to think about the transmission that's radiating out from us is our vibration that we have. Everything is existing in a particular vibratory state. And if we can get that in our mind, then you get what I mean about really the sum total of this is about living in awareness. Understanding what that vibration is, and understanding what our preferences of experience are, and be willing to change things to shift the vibration of what it is that we're experiencing. I wish there was a way to let you all know how much I actually laughed about this next word, because it makes me very happy to be able to look at all of you and say that according to my definition in this workshop, you are all trans. Well, transceivers, but every one of you is trans. And in that, it means that you have the ability to receive energy and to transmit energy, a transceiver, transmitting or receiving. You are capable of tuning into different channels by choosing certain frequencies and receiving those energies, and that you are also capable of transmitting those channeled energies through your vibration. And so if we've got God, and God is broadcasting all of the channels, and we've set an expectation of what channel's going to come through, and we've dialed into that particular frequency, and we've allowed ourselves to become a transceiver that is expressing that vibration out into the universe, then we have both received the energy and sent it out, and the cool part is that what we send out, we're also going to receive back. And so this idea of a transceiver is a really great thing to wrap your head around, all jokes aside, but really wrap your head around the idea that, as far as this is concerned, y'all go both ways. Filters are the limitations that we place on our vibration because of trauma, guilt, self-esteem, things that have happened to us. This is where we block certain channels from our own access. And so when I say living in awareness, where are your inner limitations? Where is it that you stop yourself? Where is it that you cannot allow yourself to expect the thing that you desire? And that can be any number of things. As we get down into our worksheet, I'm going to share some of my personal ones with you to give you some real examples, real-time examples of what's going on. And I want you all, in your own self, when we get to that part, feel comfortable in sharing, feel comfortable in speaking up. I say this a lot in workshops like this. I don't typically call on people unless nobody's talking. And so I want everybody to think about sharing their experience, because the greatest thing we can ever do is learn from one another. The greatest thing we can ever do is see what somebody else is experiencing and going, I see what I don't want to do, and I see what I do want to do. And if we can begin treating every single thing like that, we're refining ourselves. We are clearing the channel, we are enhancing our transceiver, we are removing the filters to allow the things to come through in a better way so that we can have the expression, the experience, the whatever it is that we're actually wanting. Make sense? You'll hear me ask that every now and then, because I have a real problem that if things make sense to me, I assume they make sense to everybody else. And so every now and then I like to check in. I'm trusting you guys will be like, huh? If it doesn't. I respond very well to huh. Interruptions are not the same as our filters. Interruptions are external things. These are external complications that come into play that distort the frequency and vibration, and therefore distort your experience in life. And as we get into our worksheet, we're going to go through more of that. But we need to have an understanding that the filters are the things internally that we need to address. The interruptions are the things externally that we need to address, resolve, work through, eliminate, whatever that may be. Then we're going to talk about our amplifiers. That would be probably what most people that come to a workshop like this are actually interested in. That's where we use tools and gongs and drums and fun things like that. And we get into making noise and activities, and this is where we get into spell work and conjuring and manifestation in its truest form from what most people consider. If you don't have all the rest of this in place, it's not going to go anywhere. You can light the fuse, but it's going to be a dud. You have to get the rest of this stuff in line, or not. You can shake a rattle all day long, but until the rest of that is in place, you're just shaking a rattle. That is a set of gourds on a stick. If I work through all of this to have it in the right place, it becomes a powerful tool for transformation and manifesting. Because as a shaman, I have an understanding of how those things work, and it becomes much more than that. This is, I believe this one's actually synthetic. This is a synthetic leather that is stretched over a wooden frame. That is a piece of wood that is big carved into an eagle's head with some deer hide on it. That's literally all these are. It's like when people look at me and go, what does this crystal do? It's doing it right now. It's being a crystal. What the hell do you think it's going to do? Oh, you want to use it for something. You're going to use it as a focal point to channel your energy through, and you're using it for an amplifier of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Trust me, the crystal's sitting there going, I'm a beautiful rock. What more do you want from me? It's fine. It's already done what it's meant to do. If we want to use it for something else, we need to realize that what we're wanting is what we're asking of it, not what do you do? Here's what I want you to do. If we ask what it does, life's happening to us. If we tell it what we want it to do, we're happening to life. With that understanding, we can go back to, I was talking to Cindy, I said before the thing. You know, when you start working on this stuff and you've been at this as long as I have, all these memories come back. I remember a big talk about crystals once I was at, and this person was saying the same thing I was. It's where I got the base understanding of it. It doesn't matter if it's amethyst or rose quartz or corundum or whatever. And the person they were telling all this to looks at him and goes, so it doesn't matter what you use? And they're like, no. And they're like, wait a minute. So I could use a Cheeto. And I looked him dead in the eye and said, if you believe in the power of a Cheeto, of course you can. It's the belief that does it. The belief is the expectation that we're talking about. If I expect that amethyst to heal my cancer, then it's going to, because I place that expectation with all the rest of this understanding on it. If I just take the crystal and set it on me, it's doing what I've expected of it. It's laying there, because that's the only expectation that I placed on it. And so I'm all about the color correspondences of crystals, and I love the idea that, you know, this tool is for this, or that thing is for that. I live in a world of chaos. We all do, if we're honest. There is a difference. I'm going to be using some terms here. If they make you uncomfortable, change them into something that doesn't, or address the fact of why you get uncomfortable over words and give them power like that. Magic. Magic is another word for what we're talking about. There's high ceremonial magic, which means on this particular day I have to use this particular tool and say these exact words, and I have to get it exactly right, and I have to do this thing, and if I don't do it exactly the right way, it's not going to happen. But if I do everything according to the recipe perfectly, then it's going to work just exactly like I thought. But that rattle won't work. I need a double-ended one instead, because that's what the thing says. That's high ceremonial. That's particular. That's detailed. Chaos magic is the idea that every damn thing is in flux, and since everything is shifting and changing anyway, I'm going to use whatever I choose to give it a shove in the direction that I want it to go. Living in chaos is a beautiful way to live, because in case you haven't noticed, it's the natural order of things. Have you noticed a lot of limitation and structure in the world right now, or does it seem pretty damn chaotic? My vote's chaotic. And since it's all pinging around and spinning around and doing all of its stuff anyway, why wouldn't we embrace that? Why wouldn't we use that? Why wouldn't we just reach up and grab the thing we want instead of it having to be a particular way of getting there? So that's why, and I'll reference Jan a lot. Jan does a lot here, but she's also a personal friend. She's over at the house quite a bit. If I decide to do some intention work at the house, we don't start looking things up in books and seeing what they mean and trying to find the particular tools. I start going through my house grabbing stuff that I think reminds me of what I'm trying to do, and we put it all in a pretty pile of stuff, and trust me, things happen. I think Thor is one of my favorite ones. We're all hanging out at the house one night, and I have a Thor doll. Because I'm not so fragile, I have to call it an action figure. In fact, I have all of the Avengers on my kitchen windowsill. I told you I was going to get geeky. Now, they weren't all on the windowsill at that point. Thor was back in the office at the house. Thor, this is a hammer of Thor tattoo. Thor has been a figure in my world since I was a small child. I have this fascination with Thor. Long before the Marvel movies, long before Chris Hemsworth, and I get it. But long before all that, very much into Thor. And so I went back and I got my Thor doll and I put it up on the mantle between all these giant crystals that are in my house, because my house kind of looks like a cave at times. And I picked up my rattle and I started shaking it at it. And I was like, we honor Thor and we call him back into our life. And I was like, there, we paid so much attention to Thor. Thor's presence will be in our life. The next day, I shit you not, I've got a witness. One of my yoga teachers who works with Rescue One calls me up and goes, we got a German Shepherd in. I already had two. We got a German Shepherd in. You have to take him. This dog needs a home. You are the perfect home for him. We're not going to do paperwork. We're not going to charge you fees. We're going to get him to you. By the way, his name's Thor. And so 2 days after getting the Thor doll, throwing it up on the mat, nothing ceremonial or fancy here, it was, what, Mattel? I don't know who makes the things. Here is a little plastic thing with a cloth cape that I put up on my mantle, shook a rattle at it, said some made up words in the moment. 2 days later, Thor is in my house. I didn't define how he would show up. I just said he would show up. He's hanging out with the other two dogs right now at the house. The last thing on our list here is area of dominant influence. My God, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. So I used to be an on-air disc jockey, and I used to teach at a broadcast school. And one of the lessons that we taught at the broadcast school was about area of dominant influence. If this is our FM radio tower, the FM signal is broadcast at whatever wattage, whatever power, whatever energy we're running through it. And it broadcasts in a straight line until it hits the earth. AM signals bounce off the earth, will travel through the ionosphere, bounce off the ionosphere. As the ionosphere rises, you'll get to where you have global coverage, all sorts of nerdy shit. But the FM frequency, and so if it goes to here, or if we imagine the center of this table, or here, this is even better because it's round. If this is where my tower is, and my broadcast signal just goes to here, to the outer edge of this drum, if that's how far my wattage reaches off of the height of the particular tower that I have that I am transmitting out of, then why would I tell the weather for what's happening here? It's outside of my area of dominant influence. Why would I try to sell advertising here? I might get them to buy it once, but they're never going to buy it again because nobody's going to come to their store because nobody heard it because they're outside of my broadcast range. So when we talk about our energy, our manifesting, our creating our reality, we have to accept that we have an area of dominant influence, and anything we try to control outside of that is a wasted endeavor because nobody's hearing that signal. Nobody's picking it up. Nobody cares. It's not touching them. And so if there is one thing I want you to get out of this entire workshop, figure out where your area of influence is and quit worrying about shit that's outside of it. Do I care about global hunger? Absolutely. You want to know who I'm going to feed? The person right in front of me. The whole world needs help. You know who I'm going to help? The person who's right in front of me. There are 8 billion people on this planet, more I think at this point. I can't help all of them. I help the ones that are right in front of me. I can also hurt the ones that are right in front of me. I can compliment or insult the ones that are right in front of me. I can affect the ones that are within my area of dominant influence. Now, to make that really simplistic concept a whole lot more complicated, we have to realize that we have many, many, many different areas, different ranges. For what's happening right now for this workshop, my area of dominant influence is in this room. It reaches halfway back in this room. This is how much I can influence in what's happening today. My broadcast antenna is right in the middle of all of you. That's as far as the signal's going. Next day replay, that area of dominant influence is going to go out as far as people who bought the replay online. So suddenly it's not limited to this room. So in this moment, my area of dominant influence is right here. Tomorrow, my area of dominant influence is going to reach out to the people who subscribe to it. The people who don't hear anything I'm saying, I'm not affecting them. I'm not having any impact on them whatsoever. The people whose receiver, transceiver, is turned off, meaning they're closed-minded, I'm not going to affect them either. And so you may find that there's a person inside of your circle, but they're closed. They're outside of your area of dominant influence just as much as the people who are outside of the circle, and every single one of you have experienced that multiple times in your life. I am telling you exactly what you need in your life, but you are not listening to me. Oh, did you say something? And they wonder why nothing changes. And so that person, even though they may be physically within your proximity, they're outside of your area of influence. So area is part of it, and the degree of influence is the other part of it. And the dominance is where you can make an impact and where you can't. And I will challenge you all that if you take time to contemplate, meditate, study, and work on that part, and begin asking that question, are you within my influence or are you not? And influence is one of those words that we get really touchy about because it sounds like we're controlling people. No, I mean, where is your message being received? Where can it be heard? And if that person is turned off and they're not receiving what it is you're broadcasting, then redirect your attention and your focus to somewhere that's going to do some good. Or, the old saying, talk to a wall. Because trust me, there are plenty of people in this world that I could knock that wall down before I could get them to change a thing. Well, mainly because you can't use sledgehammers on people, but I could take that wall down. Getting to the point where we realize what we can impact and what we can't, to what degree we can impact it, how we can impact it, if it wants to be impacted or not, if it is open and receptive to that. These are all parts of, I think, one of the master class aspects of what it is we're talking about. If you're trying to affect something outside of your control, it isn't there. So let's get real dangerous in this conversation. Let's jump right to where we shouldn't. Politics. The dirtiest word in the American language. Can I affect anything that's happening in Washington from where I'm sitting? Do I have the influence to do that? Probably not. I don't see how. I can't imagine that even if I was there screaming at the top of my lungs that anybody would bother to listen to me. I can't get people to listen to me here. Why would I drive all the way there for that same experience? And so, not much that I can do there. Can I get political on a local level? Can I join groups? Can I write letters? Can I get with like-minded people? Can I go to various protests or support rallies? If you'll notice, I'm not picking sides in this commentary. I bet you can guess which side. But I'm not picking sides in this commentary. The openly gay shaman with the pretty purple nails. Take a stab, people. Take a wild freaking guess. That being said, if I want to influence, I just found out about one. Evidently, Missouri is putting together a protest pride rally. Well, that's something that I have a particularly vested interest in. That's something that could make a difference. That's something that might get on the news and other people might see it and may actually see humans instead of gays, which would be a wonderful day for a lot of us. If we could have that happen, I might be able to make a little bit of a difference there. That would be a potential area of dominant influence. Me screaming at Capitol Hill isn't changing a damn thing. It's outside of my area of influence. Now, that would be true regardless of which side you're on politically. And that's what I want you to get. The reason I went into that thing where, so far I've covered religion and politics. We are doing great so far. But I'm presenting it all in a way that no matter where you land on, I think everything's a spectrum. Let's just get that one out of the way. Everything is a spectrum. No matter where you land on any of those particular spectrums, these things still apply. Affect the things you can. Learn to not stress over the things you cannot control. Man, if we could all do that, think about how much happier it would be. If we could all get to the point where we quit agonizing over the things we absolutely cannot control. Now, keep in mind, because I'm very passionate about things like this, I didn't say just be passive. I didn't say don't do anything. I didn't say don't be an agent of change. I'm saying if what's going to change something is throw a rock, realize how far you can throw a rock. Because anything that's past that area, you're not going to hit the target. Doesn't matter. You can have the prettiest rock in the world, and it's going to fall short. If you think of all of this, I'm sure everybody got the analogy so far. If you think of this as a radio station, think about like Sirius XM, or think about any app that you stream things on, or old school cable, which don't we all wish we could go back to that? Here, let's get rid of cable and go to streaming. Now we need I wish somebody would bundle all the streaming and we could have cable again. It would be easier. Talk about simplifying things. If we think about it in that regard, the universe is broadcasting on all channels all the time. It's a limitless universe of possibilities. It's a quantum state of reality, full signal all the time. When I talk about filters and interruptions, God, I'm going to just keep using that word because it's very convenient for me, because I know what I mean when I say God, not some judgy guy that thinks I'm horrible, not somebody that has a special place in hell for me, but this creative force that's out there. Oh, trust me, I'm a twice-baked soul. Gay shaman, there's a special place in hell for me. I have a table reserved in the corner. Our thoughts, words, emotions, and actions choose our frequency. The alignment of these aspects define the frequency of the channel that we're transmitting into the creation of our reality and our experiences in life. In another way of looking at it, we're filtering out everything the universe is offering except for the things we expect, except for the things that we align ourselves with. I got a couple things that I want to do to illustrate some of the points that I'm making here. We're going to start with the gong. And the gong, we'll do some more gong work when we get to the end of this, because who doesn't love the gongs? The gongs are a thing. In fact, shameless self-promotion, a week from last night, we have a gong bath in this very room. If you're not making plans to be here, you should be. That was shameless self-promotion, wasn't it? There will be more of that as we go. If we think about the universe as broadcasting on all frequencies at all times, now the uneducated person, if you ask them what they just experienced, they would say, "You hit the gong, and I heard it." I would say, and since you all are educated at this point, you would say, well, he took an action, he said he was going to do it, then he followed through and did it, and it created a vibration. If you don't believe it, come up here and touch this thing next time I do it. Created a vibration that was being transmitted out into the room, and most people wouldn't even take it far enough by saying that. Unless I'm the only one here, I heard many different tones there as it's still going. As I heard it fading, I heard many different levels of volume. I heard the crash at the beginning and the fade that went through it. This one, once we get it going, it has a splash or a break point at the end. Do you get that part? And so in our model right now, God's a gong, broadcasting all of those different sounds and volumes and frequencies and vibrations all at once. Because the reason the volume change is the vibration decreases. The reason that there are the different sounds that come out of it are because of the different vibrations that are coming off of it. And the way that we manipulate it, I don't know if you can all see, we have each one of these different mallets is going to produce a different sound out of it. These mallets are going to be the things that we're discussing in our worksheet to be able to change what's happening. You heard the first one. That doesn't sound the same. Those don't sound the same. And so these are going to be the things that we learn through our worksheet to be able to impact the God force that has all of the frequencies in it And this is going to become, in a positive sense, how we use our filters, how we break through the interruptions, how we purify our signal, and then when we get to the end, we're going to really get into them, because then we're going to be using our amplifier to take our expectation and broadcast it at this giant, giant volume and signature, so the universe has no mistake about what we're expecting, and it comes back to us. In certain things, I'm talking about a channel, right? I keep saying, what is the thing you want to channel? Sometimes we need multiples. If this is the vibration of self-expression, people say, find your voice. Anytime somebody says to somebody, find your voice, they think that they're saying, find what you want to say. They already know what they want to say. They don't have the confidence to say it. This is confidence. Even if they get the nerve up to say it, they have to get over the part where they're out of fear of the repercussion for what they say. That means that we need security. So if we consider that we have those different channels, we need to feel safe in our expression, we need to feel confident in our expression, we need to actually let our expression out, then we have now we've opened up all three of those channels, and we've created a harmonic that is expressing what we want out into the universe. Making sense so far? Sometimes those are different channels. Sometimes we realize, this may shock some people, I guarantee you know at least one person that this next statement will absolutely shock and dismay. We're not the only person in existence, and we're not the center of the universe. Y'all have a list of people going in your mind right now, don't you? I do. I will challenge you though. I believe I am the center of the universe, my universe. I think you're the center of yours. I think you're the center of yours. I think you're the center of yours, and so on. I think the key is we have to realize that other people are there. And if what we want to manifest, what we're trying to express, what channel we're trying to tune into, affects absolutely only us, which is rare. You want to talk about area of dominant influence? Ooh, big area of dominant influence right here. I can influence things here much more than I can out there. But sometimes we work in tandem. I said Jan's doing the recording. She's going to be editing. She's going to be producing the next day replay thing. That means for this to work, that what I'm doing and what she does have to be in harmony. We have to get two of those notes that match to be able to go through. Now, every now and then, we'll end up with something that'll sound like this. That's going to distort what our harmony is. That's going to take it out of the expression that we're wanting. And that's where you look at somebody and go, oh, I partnered up with you, but you don't want the same thing that I do. And our expectations are not in the same place. And we do not have a beautiful harmony going. And we're now trying to manifest and create two different things. We have two different channels open, and they're not meshing together like this. No wonder it's not working. You want to know how many readings I do about failed marriages that are because of that exact thing? We're not on the same page. We don't want the same stuff. We don't have the same expectations. Marriage doesn't mean the same thing to us. Well, no wonder it's not working. You probably should have checked all of that before you got married. Is it harmonic? I love saying that one. I did their wedding. They match, even though they don't match. It's a beautiful thing. They found harmony in the way that they express themselves, in the way they express their life together. And so sometimes we have to bring in multiple channels that are there. Sometimes we need multiple frequencies that are coming in. Sometimes our transceiver needs to be open on several different bands to be able to bring through to exact what it is that we're wanting. I use the example about channeling the money through you to buy a new car, right? So if I'm at the place to buy a new Jeep, because we all know when I finally get a new car, that's what it'll be. Just like the last one. It'll probably look just like the last one. So I want to channel that money through, right? Well, it would be a damn shame if that was the only channel that I had open. I should also have my negotiating channel open. I should also have my haggling channel open. I should also have my channel of willing to walk away when they don't give me what I want. I should have all kinds of channels open or I'm going to get screwed on that deal. And so when I go into that negotiation, that meeting, that exchange, I need to have my financial channel open, my negotiating channel open, that haggling channel open, that confidence channel open, and the channel that's open that is fine if I walk out of there without a new vehicle. Now I'm in the position of power. Now I'm happening to life instead of life happening to me. Instead of the car dealer telling me how it's going to go, I'm telling the car dealer how it's going to go if they want my business. My husband and I are very different. He goes to the doctor and says, "What do you want to tell me?" I go to the doctor and I tell him what I want done. Two very, very different experiences with the doctor. And that goes through our entire life. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying he's different. And in my way of doing it, it's because I might be a slight control freak. It allows me to assert my authority because I've realized the dominance in the area that I'm trying to influence. And I've opened up enough channels that I'm bringing through all of the pieces that I need to accomplish what it is that I'm trying to do. Like attracts like in the universe. You know how we've all had this happen. I love that there's so many things I can bring in here and go, I know you've already experienced this. Do you know how you'll be at a party, 50 people there, and you end up in the corner talking to the person that does the same thing you do for a living? Or you're at the mall and the clerk notices something and you end up in a conversation and you realize that your kids went to school together and graduated together. Like attracts like. We tend to find people. All of you live your own independent lives. All of you are here right now for the same collective experience. Like attracts like. We know for a fact that everybody in this room has at least one thing in common. They're interested in energy, frequency, and vibration. At least we know that. And so that has created a harmonic by bringing all of these different energies, all these different channels into one place. And if we all got into conversations, I bet we'd find more and more and more overlaps, because if we're alike in one way, I bet we're alike in a lot of other ways. And then you have to get a little bit of understanding going with it. My brother, on the surface at a glance, you would think that we could not be more different. Let me illustrate. I have a tattoo on the inside of my arm right here that in Devanagari Sanskrit script says Om Namah Shivaya, which is the mantra that I chant while I'm doing my meditation and yoga. My brother has one that says metal trash, that is for when he is playing his electric guitar in his death metal band. Both of those are tattoos with wording that have to do with us singing the things that we're into. Seems like we're different, but are we really? The things that we are different about, we're exactly the same about. We're just expressing it in different areas. I was an on-air DJ. He DJs in a bar. I teach meditation, peace, and love. His last band, the name of it was Aggression Mindfuck. Both of us trying to impact people on an emotional level, allow them to enjoy the thing that we're presenting, and have an actual experience while in our presence. Exactly the same thing, isn't it? Except for the fact that it seems totally different on the surface. And so when we get into this like attracts like, it's like attracts like, Not like attracts the exact mirror image and copy that has absolutely no variance or distinguishing characteristic. The things that are like each other. A red rose and a yellow rose are an awful lot like each other. They're not the same. They're two different colors. So like attracts like, similar. Everybody in this room has similarities. We also have differences. That's what makes it fun. So in this, we want to think about the idea that we've got God that is broadcasting on all frequencies all the time, full signal, everything going out in the way that it needs to be. We realize that we have the ability to be a transceiver that tunes into a specific frequency or energy channel, and we bring that through and broadcast it out into the universe, and this what goes into the creative matrix that we call reality, and therefore determines the experience that we're having in life. This is where we've got to interject one of my favorite things to look at in life. I say it in yoga so many times. If you've never heard me say this, start coming to yoga. Second, shameless self-promotion. You have to embrace your own uniqueness, and you have to realize your worth, your value. I say this all the time. Every class ends with love yourself enough for whatever the lesson was. Every class ends with take it off of the mat into your life. Because if it just happens here, you're not expressing it out there. We want to allow ourselves in every single moment to become the embodiment of living in awareness of what it is that we're expressing, and we want to find those things that match and are harmonic to it, and the things that support and validate us in what it is we're doing. If you do not love yourself, if you do not believe you deserve it, if you do not expect it, if you do not have some degree, when I say that God thing, let's use the word faith. If you don't have any of that stuff going, why are we even talking about being able to impact and change your life? Just let life happen to you. Let it just keep hitting you in the face and nothing changes. Because trust me, if you're not impacting life, that's what it does. It runs over you, then it backs up, then it runs over you again, then it backs up again, then it runs over you again. Then it checks the rear view mirror to make sure you're not moving so it doesn't have to back up again. What I'm saying is, live in awareness so when that truck's barreling down the road at you, you know how to step aside. Let it go right past you. You just happen to the experience instead of it happening to you. We're going to start in on our worksheet. We're about halfway through today. If anybody needs the bathroom, feel free. And if you need a drink of water or something, let Jan know. Everybody got their worksheet part? Everybody there? Everybody's pen work? We covered this with some of us. Everybody's ink pen work? And I want you to actually write these things down. We're going to talk about them as we go. What vibration do you wish to express? In other words, what are you trying to manifest? I want you all to write down what it is that you want. What is your focus of today? I would recommend, for the sake of what we're doing, make it something simple. You know, I want world peace, outside of your area of dominant influence. I want more love in my own life. Okay, that's within your area of dominant influence. What is it that you're actually wanting to manifest? And before you start writing, some of you already have, so that's a great time to say that. I want to dispel a myth. One of my favorite things is debunking spiritual stuff. I hear my mother, if I could break her of this one, I'd be so happy. I hear all the time, don't say you want the thing, you're just creating want. Don't say you wish for something, you're just creating an energy of wishing. I would love for you all to join me in my tiny little circle where we all believe that the universe isn't a dumbass and knows what we mean. I would like for us to get out of the idea that it's a lottery, that if you get all the numbers just perfect, you win, and if you're one number off, you lose and you get nothing. I understand the concept of don't create want, but if I say I want something, set that there. If I say I'm manifesting something, am I not inherently saying that I want that thing anyway? Because why would I be trying to manifest something I didn't want? So to say that I want it is an acknowledgement of my desire. I want it enough that I expect it. Now we're using our terminology. And so as you're writing down what your focus for this exercise is, don't get hung up on stupid stuff that doesn't matter. Don't get hung up on, boy, I've got to word this just right. You know what? It should even rhyme. Who cares? Who cares? I can guarantee you God doesn't. So get to what is the essence? What is the simplification? I personally love bullet points and keywords. Because inherent in that one word, I know exactly what all it means to me, and I'm going to believe that the entire intellect of the cosmos can figure out what I mean. So everybody write down what it is that you think is there.
Should we just pick one thing?
For the sake of simplicity. Because the beautiful part is you're going to have this worksheet to take with you, and you can do it again for as many things as you want to. Now, I'm going to use myself as an example on this one, and we're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff on something that seems very, very simplistic at the essence of it. I put down here growing yoga, meaning that I want more members in my studio, meaning that I don't feel like my classes are as big as I would prefer them to be, meaning that I don't make as much money off of yoga as I would like to. And I could write a short novel about all of that and everything that means, or I could put it down to growing yoga, because I know what that means. And if I know what it means, the supreme consciousness of the universe can probably get it. I could take it even smaller. I could simply say memberships, because that's the only thing I have memberships to. There's no confusion there. It's not like somebody's going to have membership to my nightclub out of this. It's yoga. That's what I teach. That's what I have memberships for. So I'm broadcasting to the universe. I'm saying to the universe, I'm trying to tune into the channel of increased memberships in yoga. I have the understanding that that may very well mean a bunch of things have to change and a bunch of things have to happen, and there may be 87 components that go into that. But at the end of the day, all that's happening is I am expecting an increase in memberships. Can we all get there with what we've written down on our paper? Fantastic. Next one. Some of these are going to sound like they're repetitive or redundant, but they're not. Because we should realize that repetitive and redundant mean the actual same thing. What does it look like in your real life? Take it out of a concept. What would it actually look like? Mine's easy. A bunch of people in this room doing yoga with me teaching. A bunch of people in this room doing yoga when I'm not the one who's teaching. I have 5 other teachers. A bunch of people in this room doing yoga. That is what increased membership would look like for me. So that is what it would look like in practical, pragmatic, real-life terms in my life. That's what it would look like. What would yours look like? This is one of the things that with private clients I work with a whole lot. We'll start talking about something, and I'll be like, okay, well, one of my favorite lines, what would this look like when it works? I don't say if it works, because it works. What would this look like if it works? And people look at me and go, oh, God, I don't really know. Well, then how will you know if it happens? If you have no definition of what this turns into, then what are we even doing here? If you have no idea what your life would look like once transformed, why would you be trying to transform it? We're not just saying change and hoping it turns out good. That would be a really dangerous exercise. So being able to define what it is we want and what that means, very, very important. Break it down into key words. Then we want to ask ourselves, so because I want us to do this, because I know me, I'll go all the way through this and then I'll go back and start at the beginning because I want people to give examples. I gave you one of mine. Anybody want to share one of theirs? What is it that we're trying to manifest? Anybody?
I have a foster dog that I'm trying to find a home for.
Perfect. Love that. That could not be more different than yoga members. I love that. So I love that because that's something totally different. And so you're trying to bring in a home for that foster dog. It's not named Thor, is it?
No.
No, thank God. I was worried there for a second. Anybody else? What else are we trying to manifest? What are we trying to create?
I said self-love and the ability to give love.
Ooh, there's a big one. Now, I think we can all guess what it would look like on yours. The real life application is that dog is no longer in your home and is somebody somewhere loved, fed, cared for, warm, the hierarchy of needs, beautiful, wonderful home, forever home, I think is the phrase that people love to use. Wonderful, and good on you for fostering dogs, by the way. Thor's a rescue puppy, my birds are rescues, I believe in it. You get extra points, gold star, boom. There is no point system, there are no stars, I just like saying that. What would yours look like in real life?
Making healthier choices, which is something I really need to start taking seriously. Being kind to myself, showing love and affection to myself and others, a better self-esteem, and acceptance of myself and others.
Love that. Can we all get that? Making sense to everybody? And thank you for sharing. That's a big one. That's a vulnerable. To put that out there. That's why I encourage people to do this, because if we can be vulnerable in this group and nobody jumps on us and nobody weaponizes that and we all validate and celebrate our own vulnerabilities, we are empowering one another. We are opening up that channel of support and encouragement and acceptance and validation and all of this good stuff. Look at how all of you, because everybody was like, yeah, we get that. Everybody was just channeling acceptance and support at you. You already got a little bit more of what you went for just right then. Love that. It's already working. We're done for the day. Go. It's worked. You go now. Buffet closed. When we get down to the next one, describe the impact it would have on your life. What channel are you currently tuned into? Give an honest assessment of the state of your life, especially in regards to the goals that are listed. Compared to the goals, where is it that you are? And so this is where, and I am big on this, you know how people say brutally honest? There's no need to be brutally honest. If you're being brutally honest, you're just being brutal, because trust me, honesty carries its own weight. You don't have to be ugly about honesty. Honesty will hit you like a 2x4 in the face. Honesty is a very, very powerful, real thing. We don't need to be brutal about it. We just need to be real about it. Brutal is mean honesty, which isn't honesty, it's just an attack. So and we can attack our own selves, let's keep that in mind. So if we are super, super honest, we're all filling this out right now, how does things look in regards to what your goal is right now? Obviously, these are not going to be the prettiest, loveliest words, or why would you be trying to change? It's all perfect like it is right now. Then why'd you put it down to change it? And so we've got to think, what does it actually look like right now? I describe mine. I have a couple of classes that are very poor in attendance. I have some classes where I'll have 2 people show up. I went on a 2-month run where Saturday morning nobody showed up except for every now and then Jan and Ann. Ann's another teacher. That wasn't what I wanted. That made me feel a certain kind of way. I'm a delicate wilting flower and I need that approval. I'm glad you all could see that part of me. And so what mine looks like in the present state is, and this is me being very real, and I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm trying to show you how real we have to get to change things. It's a struggle to meet the overhead of the studio right now because our memberships are low. This room is not producing as much money as it needs to help support this giant facility that I've got going. Now again, I'm not looking for sympathy. Everything's fine. I don't want anybody freaking out. Oh God, it's going down in flames. That's not what I mean. Oh God, let's start a GoFundMe and save Shane. Yeah, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. I know what I mean when I'm assessing what's not right in that regard. And so What do we have that we would like to share? Who wants to share the train wreck part of their life? Who wants to share where things are not how they want to be? Notice how much more reluctant we are all on that one? Go ahead.
Self-avoidance.
Oh, there's a big one. So flesh that out. What do you mean? We heard what you said as your goals and what things are and what that would look like.
Self-destruction, self-sabotage, just not doing the things that would manifest my actual want for self-love, basically.
I don't know if you've ever seen my Shit My Shaman Says series. I do a series of videos called Shit My Shaman Says. And shocking, isn't it? One of the recent ones was, don't pretend like you don't know. Do the thing you know you need to do.
Exactly.
That's it. You know, but man, those are easy words to say and hard actions to follow through with. Who else wants to talk about where something isn't where they want it to be? Jump in here, people. I will call on people. Go, let me have it.
So originally I put down peace, inner stillness, and joy.
Okay.
And so what channel am I currently tuned into? I put fear of abandonment by my loved ones. So I'm in fear, which creates anxiety and it makes my depression worse. A channel of unworthiness, of abundance and career success, which also keeps me resonating there with constant worry.
Yep.
You know, like financial or relationship failure.
You know what I think is so fascinating about what you're saying? Thank you for sharing. Fear. Like everybody is doing this already. I haven't even said what I had to say about fear. I just said one word and they're like, yep. You're talking about peace. Peace and quiet. Isn't it amazing how fear can create this enormous amount of noise even when there's nothing making noise around you? Isn't it amazing how anxiety creates this cacophony of noise? This oppressive sound in our own head. There's nobody else there. TV's off, no sound is being made, and it's so loud in our own head because of the fear, the anxiety, the worry, the stress, the whatever it is. I can be sitting at home by myself, nobody around, dogs outside, well, the rare moment the birds aren't screaming, whatever, and that fear, that anxiety can come in. And there aren't enough yoga members is so loud in my head and nobody's saying a word. Because that fear of, what if nobody else comes? When I put this together today, what if nobody showed up? That gets very loud in my head sometimes, even though nobody's saying a word. The next one is, what filters exist? You guys have already started touching on some of them. Using what you just wrote down about the state of your life, determine what limitations you have placed on yourself, where they come from, and any insights on how they limit you. I'm going to give you an example. So we all know my theme, right? Increased membership. What it would look like is more people in the room. When we're talking about our filters, we're talking about the internal stuff that's often caused by traumas and personal life experiences, all of that sort of stuff, right? I would have more people in yoga if I taught easier classes. It's a fact. Simple fact is, I would the biggest class, Jan has the biggest class in the studio, by the way. It's a much easier form of yoga than what I teach. I'm not saying it doesn't have value. Don't confuse words here. But it is an easier style. It's also a more loving, gentle style because her personality versus mine. I will tell you at the beginning of class that I'm going to try and kill you on a yoga mat. Now, why is that a filter? Some people would say that's just a behavior. The filter part is, I spent most of my life feeling like I was out of shape and terribly insecure about that. I had terrible body image, so I work out a lot and I do very strong stuff so that I look different than the way that I used to. I have this thing in my head about why would you come to yoga class and not work hard. That doesn't mean everybody else is coming to class for that idea. By the definition of what I've said, they're actually not. And all of those things that are inside of my own self are a lot of why I don't have more people in my yoga class. The other one, and this is going to go a little bit into the external things. I should probably save it, but I'm going to throw it in just for now. I can put this in an internal filter. I'm also 57. Most people my age don't want to do yoga at the intensity that I enjoy doing. Most of them aren't trying to do that athletic, high-flying, hand balance, inversion, crazy stuff that's there. Most people don't care about that because of my own insecurities, because of my own self-images, because of the traumas that I've had in my life. I've always felt like I had something to prove, so I don't know how at this point to do anything than to give everything I've got while I'm on that yoga mat. I also have a thing about feeling like I don't do enough in life. And so I always feel like I need to add more. You've seen it happen even in the descriptions of what we're going through here. Always another line, always another statement, always another anecdote, always another story, always another me saying always another. And we get to the point where I realize that if I'm honest, part of the reason that I don't have more people in yoga is because of the way I teach. Now, and I will say this unapologetically, I'm a damn good yoga teacher. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. I know the poses, I know the structure, I know the form. If you want to talk about the deeper parts of yoga, I probably know it better than most people that I've ever met in my entire life, and I'm saying that without ego. That's just a statement of fact. I have dedicated my life to it. I study it, I know it, I can do it. I can go off on, we could start the clock right now and I could give you a 2-hour workshop on yoga without any preparation. I know I could do that. It's not a question of my ability as a teacher. It's the limitations that I have inside of my own self. And so most people will never consider going too strong as a limitation. But it is. Too hot, too cold, not good. Just right, that's the deal. We've all heard the story. So do we have all of this written down? Do we have what are some of our limitations?
Self-esteem, self-awareness.
Which are probably caused by traumas and experiences from other people.
I expect the same story to play out, even though I probably manifested that story, that original occurrence into my life in some form. And
we've already covered what expectation will get you, what you're expecting.
I expect to have my success in my career limited because of my gender and sexual orientation, because it has happened to me in the past, and so I continue to expect it, even though I'm in a place in my life where I don't have to limit myself in that way. Mm-hmm. And I expect to be abandoned by people that I love and care about.
Gee, I couldn't relate to the gay guy trying to prove to the world that he can do things. Right. I mean, that's the bottom line of what we're saying here right now. And that's why I overcompensate so much with that. So now we've got our inner limitations. What external interruptions exist and what can you do to minimize their effect? These are real-life complications or places for boundaries that need to be addressed. What external factors keep you from experiencing what you want in life? So as you're writing yours down, I'm going to throw some of mine out. The economy sucks right now, and yoga is considered a luxury item. A lot of people are buying groceries instead of buying a yoga membership. That would be an external factor. We happen to live in an area, I teach spiritually based yoga. We do not live in the Bible Belt. We live in the place where they punched out a hole to tighten up the Bible Belt. And so the gay shaman yoga teacher who insists upon a deep spiritual lesson that mirrors a lot of the things that I'm saying here, they're not a great percentage of the population around here that's down for that. If I made it purely physical yoga, just about a workout and getting in shape, which sounds crazy because the other thing that runs them off is it's too hard. And then the other part, and this is why I said it could fall into an external one, and again, I'm not looking for sympathy, I just actually believe this. Most people do not look for a 57-year-old to be their yoga teacher. When you think about a yoga teacher, when you see the yoga teacher that's in the movie, in the sitcom, when there is the caricature of the yoga teacher, usually they're female first of all. They're usually as big as the finger that I'm holding up right now. I'm not any of that. I don't look anything like a yoga teacher. And so externally, the perception, the court of public opinion, the economy, all of these external things interrupt the signal of the channel that I'm trying to bring through that is increased membership, right? Anybody want to share some of theirs? What are some external things that are actually affecting you? What are things that are blocking you? In what way? That's not external, that's internal.
Well, it is external as in my internal of is preventing me from doing my external work as in consistency and discipline.
Mm-hmm. I love, discipline's one of my favorite words. It is. It's the thing we all need. You will not always have motivation, so please develop discipline. It's a fact.
That's where I'm not.
Yeah, you won't always feel like doing the thing. But if you decide you're doing the thing, and I will stand by this one, Jan's my witness on everything because she knows me better than almost anybody. What is my degree of discipline about the gym?
You never miss a day in between.
Right. I have a 2-day rule. If I didn't go yesterday, I have to go today. That's my rule. I have a 2-day rule. I cannot go 2 days in between. And I've had 2 broken arms in 2 years. Did I quit going to the gym? Oh, hell no. I'll be sick. Once I'm past contagious, I have a big thing about don't spread things around. Text Jan in the morning. She was like, "Why are you?" I'm at the gym. She goes, "Of course you are." Yeah, of course I am. Because that's what I've decided. Because that's what I'm doing. That's my discipline. That's what I do. That's the way I do it. That's the way I can make sure that I'm there. Here's the one that will blow most people away. I'm a total yoga geek. I love yoga. If you don't do yoga, you should do yoga. Third, self-promotion. Because it makes you feel good. Because it makes you powerful. But if I didn't have all of my classes, I guarantee you I wouldn't do 7 yoga classes a week on my own. I'd probably be in the gym instead. And so I have built the discipline in by making it my career. It doesn't matter if I feel like teaching yoga. It doesn't matter if I feel like yoga at all at 6 o'clock, because guess what? There's a yoga class at 6 o'clock. Doesn't matter if I feel like it or not. And that's the way I operate. If it's something that I could emotionally decide if I'm doing it or not, I take the emotion smooth out of it. It becomes a decision. The beautiful thing is, if you get to the point where you make decisions and apply discipline to it, you don't have any questions after that. Am I going to the gym today? Already answered. Already decided. Am I going to do yoga today? Well, yeah, there's going to be people out there. Not as many as I want, but there's going to be somebody sitting on a mat right there going, do your thing. So I'm going to be doing yoga at 6. And so I've built in the things that actually allow me to embody and to complete that and to get where I'm wanting to get. What other externals? We got one. Anybody else want to share an external? Things outside of you?
Because I'm making a career, an attempt to change my career path and sort of the structure of my days and my life, my time is so packed that I don't take a lot of time for my spiritual practice every day and self-care. And so, that is a direct disruption.
For spiritual practice, it goes back to the old saying that you should meditate for 30 minutes a day unless you don't have time. If you don't have time, you should meditate for an hour. You make the time. You'll never find time. You make the time. You make a decision. You sacrifice something else. And I guarantee you, we all have a hell of a lot more time than we want to admit that we do. Whether it's this screen or another one, we spend way too much time looking at them. We spend mine's sitting right here while I'm giving a workshop, if that gives you any indication. It's like my lifeline. Yeah, I'm getting ready to go to Peru for 10 days in the jungle. There's going to be no cell signal. I'm probably going to freak out. It's not going to be the ayahuasca that does it. It'll be the lack of the phone. What steps are you going to take to clear these filters and remove these interruptions? We just defined what internally and externally was blocking our signal and keeping us from that channel. What the hell are you going to do about it?
Stop making excuses.
Boy, I love that one. Gold star. That's the deal.
Write that one too.
It's like, I'm going to borrow that one if you don't mind.
And put away distractions, the phone, and just like.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? What?
What did you say? I didn't hear what you said. No excuses.
Oh, no excuses. She's adopting a no excuses policy, kind of like my 2-day rule for the gym. No excuses. There is no negotiating. There is no question. We're going to do the thing we know that we need to do. I said I was going to give examples of mine. What are steps that I can take to clear these filters and remove these interruptions? Well, I could teach an easier class. I could spend more time marketing to the people that want to do a harder class. I could go to work on this thing that I have in my head about being too old for some people and too strong for others. I could begin to remove the idea that people aren't going to like me. Please follow me on this one. I could remove the idea that people aren't going to like me because that's been built in my mind since I was a child. Growing up gay in the 80s, I decided people didn't like me because they didn't. And in this area, with what I do, and I'm not quiet about it at all, people don't like me. It's one of the things that Jan and I discuss often, and it just bugs her so much. I don't care if people don't like me, because I am perfectly well aware that I am deeply hated by a lot of people. That sounds like rough words. That sounds like I'm getting down on myself. I'm being honest. You think the pastor of James River Church likes me? I have an uncle who's a minister in Ozark that when a newspaper article was written about me, held it up in front of his congregation and preached an entire sermon about how evil I am. My uncle. My own father and I are not on speaking terms because he can't get over the fact that I'm gay. I don't know what the hell it has to do with him, but in his mind, something. And so I grew up thinking people didn't like me. And I wrestle with that in every corner of my life. I assume people don't like me. I have had a number of moments in this workshop alone thinking, oh, well, I shouldn't have said that. They probably didn't like that. Just because that's the recording that plays in the back of my head all the time. I've phrased it this way for a long time. You'll get ready to do the thing. I'm going to do the thing. And then that little voice in the back of your head says, now we will read from the book of why it won't work. And that little looping recording starts in saying why it won't work, why it won't work, why it won't work. The things that I just told you about why people don't come to my yoga class, it wasn't like I had to figure that out for this workshop. I've been saying that stuff for years. Have I changed any of it yet? No. There would be the problem now, wouldn't it? What are we going to do about it? What action steps is anybody going to share that they're willing to take in what they're working on right now? Well, that sounds like time for a shameless self-promotion then.
I got one.
See, she's cutting off my shameless self-promotion. Go ahead.
So my whole thing has been finding love in my life. And one of my outward things was when I do get on a dating app, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not get right off. So mine is going to be...
In 2 days. 2 days.
Because the people I attract are very disappointing. But I'm not going to give up. I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to stick with it.
And do you guys hear, and thank you for sharing that, do you guys hear the other part of what she said there? Of course that's who messages you, because you just said that's what your expectation is. You just spelled out very clearly it's you expect, and I'm sure it's up there. Yeah, so we all get that one? Make sense? When I say shameless self-promotion, soul retrieval. If we're dealing with the traumas of our life and the things that we cannot catch up to and those inner filters, to use the language of the day, soul retrieval is a shamanic process of reclaiming the things that you have lost to other people because of the traumas that they've impacted on you. If somebody broke your heart, you lost trust and the ability to love yourself and self-esteem and all that. Soul retrieval is a shamanic process of gathering those things back for you. I went through one myself to reclaim my sense of confidence because I had no confidence because of the way my father had acted in my life. I can guess you can all see that I'm not really lacking in confidence at this point in life. If anything, the volume's a little too loud. And so that one I've worked through. Soul retrieval is a process of doing that. Vibrational repatterning is the other one that I've put together now, where we actually go through steps using ceremony, ritual, and an actual piece of technology that I have in the other room that makes sound and vibrations at specific frequencies to repattern your vibration that you're sending out into the universe. These are actual tools and services that I offer to help people to do this, because as we discussed, sometimes you can't get to the channel on your own. Sometimes you need that harmonic channel that helps you to get what it is that you're doing. Sometimes we need the support. Some of us need to say, well, the fact that I'm writing this down means I can't get there on my own. Maybe I need help to do that. And that's some of the stuff, that's like the big purpose of the work that I do. A lot of people know me as readings or a yoga teacher or whatever. The stuff that I really like doing is, oh wow, you had this abuse and trauma in your life? Let's reclaim the parts of you that you lost because of that and make you whole again. Because some of us will say, I'm missing this part. I don't have any self-esteem. Right, you actually don't have any. That part's missing. You can't use the thing you don't have. I say it all the time, and I think everybody in here is old enough to get this one. Do you remember back in the 80s and 90s, those big rack stereo systems? You had the different components and all of that, the dual cassette and the turntable on the top, the big-ass speakers and everything. The speakers are this big now. Imagine you had that, but you didn't have any speaker wires. The lights are on, and the needle's going, and it's tuned in, and everything's there, and there's no sound. And there never will be until you hook up speaker wires. If you had a trauma in your life that took a part of you actually away from you, soul fragment broke off and is no longer available to you, then quit faulting yourself for not being able to use the thing that you don't have. On your own, with somebody else, with somebody like me, go to work reclaiming that piece and then learn how to use the thing that you haven't had in forever, and you will change a lot of what your experience is in life. That's what soul retrieval is all about. Vibrational repatterning is saying, okay, let's go in and actually shift your energy right now, because sometimes we need a little bit of a jumper cable boost to be able to do the rest of it on our own. Sometimes we need a jump start, and that is what that process would be. If anybody's ever interested in any of that stuff, let me know. It's what we do. And when you get hold of me and say that you want to know about that, I'll say, get hold of Jan. Tell me it's not true. Because we don't want Shane keeping track of his own schedule. The good part of the screen is I wake up and it tells me what to do because Jan told it what I should be doing. That's how life works.
Poor Jan.
Poor Jan. Poor Jan. This is such a weird thing to bring in. This is my psychic trash can. When I have a rough client, when I've got a bad emotion, when I've got some negative energy going, when I've got some block that I'm trying to release, I take the stone. Doesn't matter what stone. Remember, we covered that. Doesn't matter what vessel. This is one that somebody made me in a pottery class. Doesn't matter what's inside of it. I prefer salt. Some people use sand or dirt. I take whatever the block, the limitation, the ick, the filter, the whatever we want to call it, and I give it to the stone. Then I take the stone and I put it in the salt. The stone takes it from me, the salt takes it from the stone, and then I take the salt and throw it in the trash and get fresh salt. I literally take out the garbage of my own life. The one I have at home, Civil War cannonball. Because when Scott and I get in a fight, I would much rather set down the cannonball than shoot it through his face. Symbology matters. It gets you involved in the thing. The reason I brought this in is some of our things are simplistic. I just talked about soul retrieval. That's pretty heavy. This, okay, I'm stuck in a pattern. I'm going to break that pattern by giving away that repeating behavior and put it there and let it take it out. And then I'm going to take and actually throw that pattern in the trash and walk away from it with the belief that I just did that. Because in your mind, it will register that you physically did something while holding an expectation of what that something was going to do. If you say I'm going to release this habit in your mind, what happened? Nothing. Your brain's like, but you didn't actually do anything. If you take a physical action while you do the thing, while holding the expectation, two different parts of your brain fire off. The one that has the expectation, the one that says, well, wait a minute, we just actually did something. Well, we must have done something about that. And then this part of you believes that part of you, and a change actually happens. And we've gotten to where we can actually transform ourselves with little simple objects of what we've got going there. You begin to realign your transceiver by putting your hand on the controls. Write down your current thoughts, feelings, words, and actions surrounding the situation. What are you actually doing? What is actually happening right now? Just put some keywords, because we're going to run out of time, like I figured. Put some keywords down. What are you actually doing right now? This is going back to what your life looks like. Not what would you be doing right. What are you doing now? What is your inner dialogue about the thing that you wrote down first in your goal? What actions are you actually taking? What emotions are connected with it? What thoughts are there? Begin to allow yourself to put down the thoughts, words, actions, and beliefs. These are what we call vibrational integrity. I said there's certain things you're going to hear over and over in workshops that you come to of mine. Vibrational integrity is one of the biggest things that I focus on. What you think, what you say, what you do, what you believe. If all four of those things match, they are the four legs of a table, and you can build anything you want on top of that table. If only three of them match, that table's going to get pretty wobbly. If two of them are all that match, the table's going to fall over. And if there's only one of them and all four of them are different, I don't know why you're calling it a table anymore. It's a pile of scrap wood. And so where is it that your thoughts, words, feelings, and actions are not congruent? Where are you not matching on those four vibrational qualities that you're radiating out into the world? I say I need to teach an easier class. I don't do it. Why? Because emotionally I don't want to. I think it, I say it, I don't feel it and I don't do it. Wonder why it's not happening. Anybody want to share where they're mismatched instead of a box set? Oh, I know. We all think that we are the matching set, and we are odds and ends. Every one of us was bought at a thrift store, I promise you. Because I don't know anybody that matches on everything all the time. So we get the concept, at least, of vibrational integrity. Got to get those things in alignment. From this awareness, begin to bring yourself into vibrational integrity where your thoughts, words, actions, and beliefs are all in alignment, which you are trying to manifest. Use vibrational integrity to change your frequency and align with the channel that you are wishing to express as your vibration. Write down some of the key ways that you're going to bring your words, thoughts, actions, and beliefs into unity. And so in this, I want you to just start with thoughts. Put two keywords, maybe three. What thoughts do you need to have about what you're doing? What are the proper thoughts that tune you into the frequency of the channel that you're wishing to express? What thoughts are there? My thought is, I should probably teach an easier yoga class. From that, then address the emotions. What are the emotions that are connected with those thoughts? I mean the healthy ones. We're building a solid table here. What is the emotion that would go along with? What shift do you need in emotions so that it begins to match your thoughts? From there, begin to speak into existence what you desire. Internal dialogue and external dialogue. Because a lot of us say one thing in here and we say another thing out here. How do we get those to match, and how do we get them to match the emotions and the thoughts? And then, of course, the big one would be, what actual actions and steps are you going to take to make this happen in your world? What are you going to actually do? I see people writing like mad. I love that, because what we're doing right now is we're making a plan. See, one of the things I hate about workshops, because I've experienced it so many times, I hate it when you go to a workshop and it's like, oh my God, what they said is so cool. Oh my God, in the moment that was awesome. I love the way that came across. And by the time you get to your car, you're like, what am I supposed to do? What do I actually do with any of that? You're going to walk out of here with an actual plan of action. So this is the good one. You guys should really, really, really want to share this one. What does vibrational integrity look like in your world? Who wants to go?
I'll go. So for mine, I wrote down 3 bullet points. One is to make the decision to ask for help from someone getting the results I currently want, and then to be a sponge and be coachable on what they're saying I need to do to reach that best course of action, and then be disciplined to actually take that action by putting in the work even when I don't want to.
Those sound like very real life things to me. that sounds like if you did those things, something's going to happen. Something good is going to happen. Who else? What else we got?
I'm also going to expect it, just like you talked about. I'm going to expect it.
Yeah, plug the other part in. I expect that. There's some guy out there with your name all over him.
It's super exciting.
And why the hell shouldn't there be? That's the other part. Why not me? Assess your area of dominant influence. Make a list of what is and what is not within your control regarding this circumstance. This would be the moment of get very real. You've got the thoughts, the words, the actions, and the beliefs. You've got a plan that's there. Where can you place those actions, thoughts, words, and beliefs that will make a difference? And where is it you're placing them that doesn't make a damn bit of difference in your world at all? What is your area of dominant influence in regards to what the goal is? That one might take a little thought. That one might take a little bit of work through. Then I'm going to go ahead and skip to this last one because we've got a fun exercise to do in all of this. How can you further enhance your ability as a transceiver to channel what you desire? List the ideas that come to mind to support the changes. Some of the things we could do, and this is just, you know how everybody says, raise your vibration. That's like a buzzword in spirituality right now. We need to raise our vibrations. What does that mean? It means to refine the transceiver. And we do that through our diet. And I don't just mean food. I mean everything we ingest. I want more peace in my life. Well, how about you go on the no Facebook diet? More peaceful already. I want to not be in conflict with other people. Well, then don't bring up religion at the dinner table. It's not just like your yoga practice, meditation, soul retrieval, counseling, what we eat, what we say, what we do, the people we surround ourselves with. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, then it's a duck. Decide what kind of duck you want to be. Start walking that way and talking that way. And find a pond full of ducks that are already like that. You want to get good at yoga? Hang out with a bunch of people doing yoga. Seems like a no-brainer, but yep, there it is. That's what will do it. Surround yourself with complementary. Get to where you have the harmonies firing off in that way. Get to where you have the support that's firing off in that way. Get to where you are allowing people, good ones, very, very scrutinizing on this, but allow yourself to be placed in the area of dominant influence of other people that will help you get what you want. Does that make sense? You get what I mean by that? You know, we all say that, oh, you shouldn't be an enabler. Hell yes, you should. Enable me to be rich and famous and successful and self-loving. Enable me to care about myself more fully. Let me enable you to believe that you deserve everything that you want in life. There's a very good version of being an enabler. Enable somebody to keep up their heroin addiction? Maybe not so much. Enable people to quit that addiction? Wonderful. And so we surround ourselves with people like that because it helps our transceiver to function more fully in that moment. Do we all feel like we have a base concept of this? All these little pieces making sense to you? All of our little worksheet moments. We could walk out of here today, decide a different thing we're trying to manifest, go straight down through this list, and come up with our plan of action at the end. And we know how we could increase our transceiver and all of that. That only leaves one word left on our terminologies. Amplifier. Sadly, we have just a little bit of time left for the thing that most people come to a workshop like this for. This is one of the things you'll learn about me. I love the fun stuff. I love hitting gongs and drums and ritual and ceremony. I'm a shaman. That's what we live for. But if you don't have this understanding going into it, it's not going to do a damn thing. You're shaking a gourd on a stick instead of using a rattle for transformation. So what we're going to do in this aspect, this last little exercise that we've got, I wanted to show you, this is so traditional, shaman. So let's say that I have the right thoughts, words, actions, beliefs. I've got my energy lined up. I am tuned into the channel from the universe. Now, remember that rack component system we were talking about? Now I'm going to find the volume knob. I'm going to turn it all the way up. One of the ways that I do that, because I'm into shamanic practices, with a drum. I want you guys to think about, let's do two different exercises here. This will be a fun one. I want you to think about the filter that you want to get rid of. What is the filter you're going to clear? The filter being our limitations within our own self. You've got it right there on your page. What is on there that you're going to choose to release? Now I want you to think about, when you hear this, that the sound of the drum is actually driving that energetic component out of you. It is actually removing that filter or cleaning the filter, or however you want to look at that. So I want you to focus, meditate, contemplate those words that are on your filter, and I want you to think about this sound literally pushing it out of you. So in that moment, we set an expectation of what was happening by tuning into the frequency and channel of releasing the filters of the negativity that blocks us from what we're doing. We use an amplifier to increase the voltage of that energy that we're running through that to allow us to actually release and let things go. You know what's so cool when we did that? I love it because I have a different viewpoint than you guys do. I start in, and everybody just went like this and settled into that space and was in that releasing. We weren't holding on to it. We were releasing it. Now I want you to look on your sheet about your plan of action. The steps. The what you're going to do. The expectation. The what it looks like. All the good stuff, right? Decide what channel, decide what frequency, decide what energy you're bringing through, decide what vibrational integrity looks like, decide what it looks like when it works. All those pieces. We're going to take a couple of minutes here doing this one, because we're going to use the gong as our amplifier. So what we're talking about is these vibrations. Because of the clearing of the filters, we are now down to the part where we're only going to grab the parts of this. Remember we talked about it as different tones and different vibrations and different sounds? We're only going to grab the one out of it that we need that complements what it is we're trying to do, that enables our thoughts, words, actions, and beliefs to come into vibrational integrity, to meet up with our expectation for the channel that we have opened to God. Now let's dial that up another notch. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. But let's dial that up another notch. You do not have to do this if you're uncomfortable, but I would really love for you to realize you're in a totally safe space. There is no reason to be uncomfortable here. We have a rule. Everybody here is supportive, or they get to meet the other side of my personality. We chase away the uglies. We don't put up with the people that throw wet blankets on each other. We enable, support, and validate each other all day long, or we show you the door, because that's the way things work around here. This is a safe space. So I'm gonna go back into the gong. I'm gonna get pretty loud with the thing. I'm gonna do that because I would love for you to look at your plan of action. I would love for you to look at the steps that you're going to take to clear the filters. I would like for you to take the positive keywords and the actions and the steps and speak them out loud, placing your vibrational intonation on this vibrational intonation and project it out into the world. If you want to say it nice and quiet to yourself because you're self-conscious, that's fine. But then please go to work on being self-conscious for next time. If you want to be big and bold and proud with it, stand up and scream it to the heavens. If you land somewhere in between, that's great. Don't be shy. Don't be self-conscious. Don't let yourself limit what you're telling the universe that you want. You have the opportunity right here and now to stand up and say, universe, here's what I want. Give it to me because I expect it, because I deserve it, because I'm letting go of this and this and this, and I'm claiming that and that and that, and I'm going to do this so that my words match my actions and my emotions. And I want you to have a moment where you actually put your vibe on this vibe so that it can amplify what you're projecting out into the universe. So one of two things happened. You either had a moment where you watched a guy hit a round thing with a stick. That's one perception. Or you just stepped into an energetic exercise where you let go of a bunch of stuff that holds you back and claim the truth of the reality that you want to experience. If you allowed yourself in any way to connect with what we just did, you just changed your channel. You just adjusted your transceiver. You just aligned yourself with the frequency and the channel that you want. You allowed your vibration to join in with the amplified energy that we brought through and broadcasted that out into the universe. And if we believe the concepts that we've laid out today, the universe will reflect those back to you because like attracts like. And what you put out in honesty and truth because you cleared the garbage out of the way and you expected what you wanted will be the very thing that you get. Or I hit a round thing with a stick. Is all this making sense, you guys? Got any questions? If there is something that we got into today that you need some help with, get hold of me through Jan. And we'll set you up an appointment and get you in here. We can work on anything that there is that you need to work on. Other than that, thank you all for coming. I appreciate every single one of you. In this studio, we don't say namaste, we say Satnam, because Satnam means true self. And I don't mean your burdens or your garbage or your limitations or any of that stuff. I mean the bright, shining, luminous spirit that you are, because that's the truth of your being. Satnam. Thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate every one of you.
Thank you.